I am who I am because I value my past. The memories of yesterday can never be changed, but they give me a reason to live again. There is a reason I am here today, but there is no reason you lost your lives. You were called abusive names, deprived of rights to be humans, slayed because of who you were born. I am lighting a candle as the sign of resilience. I'm paying a tribute. You left a legacy, and I'm a fruit from the love you sowed. Let's say never again to genocide. There should be no war. There should be no genocide. Anyway, let's say never again to genocide. Let's say never again to genocide. I was young, I still needed you, but you were taken away from me too soon. If I had one wish, be seeing you again. Today we're strong men and women, even though you are not here to see. We're carrying on to make you feel proud out there, watching down on us. I am lighting a candle as the sign of resilience. I'm paying a tribute. You left a legacy, and I'm a fruit from the love you sowed. Let's say never again to genocide. There should be no war. There should be no genocide. Anyway, let's say never again to genocide. Let's say never again to genocide. I am a witness that if you and I come together as one, we can make sure genocide never happens again. History should be told and passed on to further generations. Let's all stand up and all sing out, never again to genocide. Let's say never again to genocide. There should be no war. There should be no genocide. Anyway, let's say never again We brought you flowers. 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 We brought you
Good evening and welcome. Be an angel for an Ambazonian IDP refugee or prisoner of war this Christmas. That is the core reason for this evening. But as our tradition entails, we will begin on very topical issues that are impacting Ambazonia, the Sub-African region, and the world. The potential for Ambazonia to leverage the diplomatic dynamics of the current day, global politics, and get their freedom, total freedom from the Franco-Cameroon hegemony. Yesterday, it took the media by storm. According to reports, the Republic of Chad apparently would have divorced France. The report states that Chad has severed ties with France when it comes to defense. But there are other skeptics who think that they are called the cooperation that France had with all their former colonies. Should I say former colonies? I would rather say their modified colonies in Africa entails more than just a military ties. Something the president of Chad, Deby, said that is of interest and that could help people to think differently. He said, we need this so that we can consider other relationship. I smell, in my opinion, I smell the humor of Russia. And it will bring us again in this aspect that we've been discussing for close to 2 years. The Russian foreign policy in Africa. Is France actually losing their grip after losing woefully in West Africa? Is that about to happen in Central Africa? That's some of the things we'll be finding out with the lawyers this evening. But even before that, again on the media all through this week, proxies of La République du Cameroun have been misleading, misinforming the world that the president of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, President Samuel Sako, has declared a ceasefire. That's false. But how do we prove it? We're going to bring to you an excerpt of the real speech after we would have shown to you the false speech. And Star Smart has been doing this. Right after the break, that is where we will begin, and then we will move into the zone to be an angel for an IDP, a refugee, or a prisoner of conscience this Christmas. Stay tuned. Yeah, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, Studio 2 Star Smart. I want to believe that you can hear me. I will just allow you to greet the public very briefly. Dr. Patience, Barrister Fru, Barrister Mbeseha, and straight away we'll move into the studio to have Star Smart tell us about this misinformation that will set the foundation of tonight's conversation. Good evening, Dr. Patience.
Good evening, Director Paddy Tarh. Greetings, my fellow comrades, Barrister Fru and Barrister Mbeseha. It's my pleasure to be with you guys here on this program today. The Be an Angel Christmas Fund Drive to be able to get enough fundings. I mean, it's never enough, but to be able to solicit funds to help our embattled people that have really suffered the brunt of the war for the past 7 years. And I hope we able to realize our goals today. Thank you so much.
Yes, Barrister Fru, Barrister Mbeseha, please talk to us.
Thank you, Paddy. Good evening, all my fellow panelists, especially Dr. Abiedu, who is joining us today after a very long time. We welcome you on the program, and we are also saying thank you for the work you do for our people. Thank you for taking care of our vulnerable people. Thank you for this day, this program today, because it's intended for us to be able to help our people who are suffering in Nigeria and those who are in prison. And the Department of Women Affairs is doing a marvelous job. We are very grateful that you are there. Dear Ambazonians at the home front and worldwide, we welcome you to this program, and we are saying that nothing is small. Whatever you have, you put it in so that we can help our people in need, particularly the IDPs, the refugees, and those in the prisons of La République du Cameroon suffering because of us. Thank you for welcoming us in your room, in your various houses, and we intend to bring you the best of the best today. Thank you.
Amazing. Barrister Mbeseha.
Well, thank you for having us once more. Thank everybody for being here. We know that very often in a revolution or any time in life, there are often misinterpretations, there are misrepresentations, and often sometimes there may be outright lies. And so I think we see these opportunities to give explanations where they are needed so that people don't get confused all the time. Thank you for having us. We hope by the end of the day, this job would have been well done. Over to you.
Okay, that's amazing. Star Smart, I want to believe that you're ready, but I know you're ready to present, to tell us what has been happening on the media with President Sako being misquoted. There's an extract of the misquote that, if you would permit me, Star Smart, let me play that extract and then you can come in.
Let us declare a ceasefire on all our forums from today to December 31st. Reach out to your brothers and sisters, encourage them, pray for each other, and reconcile any differences. Readmit those who have been expelled and extend a hand of fellowship to your fellow comrades. Love is stronger than hate. If you are admin in any forum where individuals still post content insulting the president or anyone, you must call them to order or delete their posts and address the issues with them. Otherwise, you are part of the problem. You are not innocent. You are guilty by association. Today should mark a new beginning. Let us choose unity in purpose while we can. It is easier to reconcile within a marriage than to remarry your ex.
The message is quite simple, but the distortion was very intentional. Start smart. Please talk to us.
Yes, worthy of a laugh. Well, that is the video of President Sako that has been making rounds on social media due to a very ill intent media manipulation causing controversy online. Well, in this recent and troubling turn of events, the video of President Samuel Ikome Sako addressing the Ambazonian people has been manipulated and misrepresented, creating a misleading narrative. The original speech, which called for an end to internal conflict amongst Ambazonia, has been deliberately taken out of context by isolating the reinterpreting portions of the address. Some have spread the false claim that President Sako was advocating for a unilateral ceasefire by the Ambazonian State Army, while La République du Cameroon continues its aggression. This distortion of President Sako's message reflects a very dangerous trend in media manipulation aiming to confuse, divide, and discredit Ambazonia's leadership and its struggle for liberation. Going to the original message versus the manipulative media message, President Sako's speech was a call for unity and an end to infighting, as you would call it, amongst Ambazonians, recognizing that internal divisions can undermine the liberation movement. He urged Ambazonians to channel their energy towards their shared goal of independence. The message of peace and solidarity has now been twisted to suggest that he called for a ceasefire against La République and calling for unity even with La République, a claim that is entirely untrue and contrary to the principles guiding Ambazonia's struggle. Such misrepresentation is a form of contextual deception, where a truthful statement is reframed to distort its meaning. This tactic is just as harmful as creating false content, as it manipulates perceptions while appearing credible due to its basis in a real event. Now take a listen to the original speech of the president with context. Let's take a listen.
Let me call for a ceasefire here. Let us declare a ceasefire on all our forums from today to December 31st. Reach out to your brothers and sisters, encourage them, pray for each other, and reconcile any differences. Readmit those who have been expelled and extend a hand of fellowship to your fellow comrades. Love is stronger than hate. If you are admin in any forum where individuals still post content insulting the president or anyone, you must call them to order or delete their posts and address the issues with them. Otherwise, you are part of the problem. You are not innocent. You are guilty by association. Today should mark a new beginning. Let us choose unity in purpose while we can. It is easier to reconcile within a marriage than to remarry your ex. Just look at how many of those who fired me yesterday are today yearning for collaboration with us. In conclusion, as we press forward, let us choose our words and our actions wisely. Remember that we bear the hopes and dreams of the nation. Together, let us keep pressing the forward gear and not the stop and the reverse gears until our dreams of a sovereign Ambazonia become a reality. Let us strive until we reach Buea, until the souls of our heroes are avenged by the reward of our freedom, until truth and justice prevail, and until Ambazonia is totally and unconditionally free. Viva our Ambazonian State Armed Forces. Viva the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. And God will surely bless our beautiful country. Thank you for coming.
Now you get the message in its entirety, but taken out of context, you can imagine the damage and misinformation going on. This deliberate twisting of President Sako's words has far-reaching consequences. First of all, looking at eroding the trust in leadership. misinterpreting the president's call for peace internally as a demand to disarm against La République sows distrust amongst Ambazonians, potentially weakening the collective resolve, jeopardizing the liberation effort by creating the illusion of a ceasefire proposal. The manipulation could leave Ambazonia's defenders, the Ambazonian State Army, vulnerable to attack as La République continues its aggressive campaign. It also fosters division. With such misinformation, it pits Ambazonians against one another, diverting attention from the true enemy, the colonial regime of La République. Well, President Sako has always upheld the position that the struggle for Ambazonia's independence cannot be compromised, and it calls for peace must include guarantees that La République will cease its aggression, a condition that has not been met. Asking Ambazonians to stand down while the aggressor remains armed is not only illogical, but also dangerous, undermining the self-defense measures that has been vital to the survival of Ambazonia as a whole. Now, we know the struggle for liberation, Ambazonia's fight for freedom, is rooted in decades of systemic oppression, exploitation, and the denial of basic rights, human rights, under La République's colonial rule. The Amazonian State Army was not formed to instigate conflict, but to defend against relentless attacks on Ambazonian lives and livelihood. The notion of a unilateral ceasefire is incompatible with the reality on the ground, where La République continues its acts of violence with impunity. President Sako's leadership reflects a commitment to justice and self-determination, and his call for internal peace should be seen as an effort to strengthen Ambazonia's resolve, not as a capitulation to the colonial forces. The struggle is indeed about unity, dignity, and the unwavering pursuit of independence. Well, I'll rephrase, it is about unity of purpose. Well, as Deacon Tasang Wilfred highlighted, the manipulation of information is a long-standing tactic in warfare. And in today's digital age, it has evolved into more sophisticated forms, including contextual deception. Misrepresenting a leader's words can also be just as destructive as fabricating them, as it exploits trust and spreads confusion within such a movement as that of Ambazonia. Ambazonians' media platforms like SCBC TV and other TV like ABC Amba TV, I beg your pardon, plays a crucial role in countering these tactics. To combat such manipulation, the Amazonian community must verify and contextualize. Always seek the full context of statements before accepting or sharing them. Strengthen information security by protecting sensitive discussions and ensuring that key messages are clear and resistant to misinterpretation. And to educate the public, of course, raise awareness about how media manipulation works and why unity and vigilance are essential. While looking at the united front against such deception, Ambazonia's strength lies in its unity of purpose, and its commitment to truth. The distortion of President Sako's speech is only a reminder of the lengths to which La République and its agents will go to undermine the liberation movement. But of course, such tactics can only succeed if Ambazonians allow themselves to be divided, just like President Sako was talking against. By standing together, verifying informations, and rejecting manipulation, the people of Ambazonia can ensure that their struggle for independence remains focused and resolute. The liberation of Ambazonia is not just a battle of arms, but a battle of narratives, and truth is the most powerful weapon, and that cannot be stolen away from Ambazonians. I think at this juncture, we hand over back to Mr. Tarh Paddy King and his panelists back in the studio.
That was clinical stat smart. It was as smart as your name. It's amazing. I want to begin with Dr. Patience. You're here today, so you're the lady. Let's honor you to begin. I'm sure you also would have been worried with the distortion of information.
Absolutely. I was talking with someone about this issue a few days ago, and the person, I will not mention name, was saying that sometimes we have to be careful when we use words because those words will be exploited for the wrong reason. Yeah, the president, as you rightfully described, was telling us to stop the bickering that occurs in our fora, to stop the name calling, and he used the word ceasefire in context of what has been transpiring in the different fora. And another word could be used. Basically, stop all the distraction that has come about because of because of in-house fighting, because it's really in-house fighting. And we all live in our own homes. We have fight with our family members, maybe our spouse, our children, our cousins, people that are living in the same household. It's not different in the family that we have in Ambazonia. Those different fora reflect what could happen in different households. So the person that is in authority, the father of the house, can say, stop it. Don't do this anymore. You're supposed to be a family. You're supposed to be united. We have one goal, and the goal is to make sure that La Republique goes to its boundary that it had at independence and leave Ambazonia to be able to control its own affairs. That's all the president was talking about. And for those who want to exploit the situation to make us think that we are no longer fighting for our freedom, just did just that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, yeah. As for the in-house fighting, it is now clear to Yaoundé that was trying to leverage this, that it was just a father trying to set order in the house. Ambazonia is not backing out down any day soon until you meet us on the negotiation table. I'm not worried about in-house fighting. Every family has their ups and downs. I grew up in a big family, in a polygamous family. My father was a polygamist, and you can envisage or know what that is. And it never stopped us from being strong or stronger. It's just funny when a person is peeping over the window in your house and trying to take advantage of it. Probably because they are not fighting in their house doesn't mean that they are stronger than us. It's really interesting the way Star Smart brought the message of the president last week and again to life. Barrister Fru, what do you think?
Paddy, I don't know. A lot of people don't understand the English language.
Mm-hmm.
That is the biggest problem that I have realized amongst some illiterate people. The word ceasefire can be used in a family. It can be used between couples. Please stop fighting. That's just what it means. Stop abusing each other. Stop the insults. You can use a word like ceasefire to stop a fight, whether that fight is verbal or physical. I don't understand these people. A very, very big organization like the Federal Republic of Ambazonia has a lot of people, and there are bound to be disagreements. That's why I always look at Dr. Sako and said, God sent this man to us. Because the word that he has used is the appropriate word. Because if you read the various platforms on social media, if you saw the fire that was coming from both the 9 remnants and the other Ambazonians, fire all over the place. As a father, what do? You called everybody to order. Say, stop it. Stop it. Cease your fire. I've already brought a solution. Let's wait for the solution in December. Does that look? Let me tell you what is happening. La Republic conducted a coup d'etat in the Ambazonian government through Chris Anu. And Chris Anu started by using somebody, some woman in the cabinet, an important woman. And they almost collapsed the government. Before we opened our eyes, all our websites were gone, all our money was gone, everything was gone. And we took immediate action to secularize this government and to bring it back to life. And La Republic and its agents did not know that we had taken all the necessary precaution so that it doesn't occur again. So this time around, they tried again. They tried again through so-called Sako radio to go to use now the vice president to get to the president. It didn't work. They tried again and created this controversy that we have in the cabinet and outside of the cabinet throughout the structure of the federal government. So the president had no choice but to call a ceasefire in the forums. That is, look, the forum is one. Fora is the plural. The fora are various platforms on social media that we use to manage our business. People were using it to fight each other, to insult each other, to send all kinds of messages all over, and that is normal in a large organization. The leader had to bring order, and he was talking in a setting of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia during a fundraising for us to carry on the transition phase of this struggle. And La Republic realized that they have failed on all fronts. They listened to him and they took out the word ceasefire. And they wanted now to use that word ceasefire to mean that our president has called for ceasefire against La Republic of Cameroon, for the war. Tough luck, La Republic of Cameroon. We are fighting you and will fight you to finish. I mean, they are very, very stupid because just recently in Bamenda, less than 2 days ago, a day or two ago, the fire was on. And the fire is on all over in Ambazonia against La Republic of Cameroon forces. Against La Republic of Cameroon forces. So what are they talking about? You have failed. La Republic has failed. Its agents have failed. So our leader is waiting for the commission that he put together. When the results come out, this thing will be laid to rest, and we'll continue. This thing did not stop us from working. We are working. Everybody's working.
In fact,
and let La Republic.
We're making progress.
Yes, let La Republic be very careful. Let La Republic be very careful. If they know that we are not working, why are they holding nocturnal security meetings all over the place? I challenge them that we will fight you to finish until you leave our territory. Come on. Why can these people not learn? They are using words now to make if they want ceasefire, let them declare ceasefire. They brought the fire. Let them declare unilateral ceasefire. If the ceasefire we're talking, they are talking about is relating to the war, our ceasefire is not for the war. We have an organization, and there are disagreements in the organization. We have to call people to order. Ceasefire on your fora, on all the forums that make up our system. What is wrong with that? Why are these people so stupid?
That's amazing.
You know?
Okay, let's move forward, Afro. This I believe you have so much to talk on this. I wish we have all night to do. Barrister Mbeseha, I'm coming to you. There are some things you happen to be chairperson, if I'm not mistaken, as the president's strategy of this commission. Is it a commission or whatever organization that the president has set forth for truth? I know you said you call it truth and
Truth and reconciliation.
But you, during one of the meetings, gave it a word that is more representing of what is currently happening, because that was also misunderstood and misrepresented. I want you to talk to us based on, we know that the media in modern day warfare, the importance of the media in modern day warfare can never ever be undermined. The truth is, I received a lot of calls from the home front with people saying that how can the president declare a ceasefire? And I had to educate them. I thought that Ambazonia this week or this weekend is necessary for us to counter the fraud that can only be done by those who are not for the total freedom of Ambazonia. Barrister Mbeseha, please talk to us.
I think the problem we have, even among ourselves, is that we ignore the environment from which we are operating. This is the age of social media, and there's no guarantee that when you make a speech, not every listener takes it from the beginning to the end. Some people may just take a phrase out of the speech, a sentence, or something. And that's why I said, when you have a speech like that, there are people who honestly, they don't hate you, but who give what you say an out of context interpretation of what was said. And let me give it for the benefit of the doubt that those people saying Sako called for a ceasefire in Ambazonia didn't follow the speech to the end. They are just talking out of context. They didn't understand the context which has been explained. Ceasefire to the forest, not forever, but to the end of December. And so that cannot be a ceasefire in war. They took it out of context, they misinterpreted it, or some just did it out of malicious intentions. Those are all possibilities. But even if there was a ceasefire was declared, assuming that people thought it was a real ceasefire, who is to benefit from that ceasefire? The answer is, if there's ceasefire, we are calling on people not to fight and kill themselves, the opponents. In every war, there are two parties facing each other. When there's a ceasefire, you're telling the people, the fighters, to stop killing the other one of the other side. That's what a ceasefire means in war. But given the context in which we are right today, we are talking today more than a week after the so-called Sako call for a ceasefire in Ambazonia was declared. And as Barrister Nsoh says, as late as yesterday, we saw pictures of French military people falling. As far as early as this morning, I still saw reports of war being fought, and all activities on the ground do not go anywhere to the similar to talk about the ceasefire. And so that is just a misinterpretation. The events, the facts speak differently. Get out. The real facts speak differently. And so whatever was the intention now, there's not a ceasefire in terms of war, because some people might not even know what a ceasefire is. Some people understand ceasefire only in terms of war, a real physical war. And so they might honestly, as I said, misinterpret what you are saying or take it out of context, which I think this what exactly happened. And so it does not affect us. For those who did not know, it does not affect us because, as we have concluded, war is going on now. Strategy is going on in Yaoundé to fight us. We're having our own strategies to fight them continuously, and their people are falling. Some of us are also dying. So there is no talk of ceasefire. The president meant stop quarreling. Let us deal with ceasefire. Give ourselves a break. On the forums are social media communication channels. And let us see how we can iron out whatever differences we have within a specific period of time. We should describe it at end December 31st. And so that misinterpretation, that ill intent misinterpretation, that wicked interpretation is not what applied. We have clarified, I guess. This our followers will know that the president did not declare a ceasefire in the war. He declared a ceasefire among ourselves. And then he explained, let us stop insulting each other. Let us stop the insults. Let us give it a break and see what happens come December 31st. Over to you.
Barrister Mbeseha, I'll be coming back to you, and then we go to Barrister Fru before we go to Dr. Patience. You are head of the commission. I know you are not supposed to make public statement for the truth or the fact-finding mission in description, but would you say so far it's been a success? You don't need to give details. You can also opt not to answer my question, but to talk to Ambazonians to see the president's approach, do you think so far it's been a success when it comes to your objective of what you intend to do?
Well, I can say that the fact finding, whatever the mission were assigned to us, is ongoing. It's
Okay.
actually ongoing. And as the chair, I have nothing to regret up to this point. I just expect Ambazonians to hold their fire. If you don't want to hear ceasefire, wait for what this mission, this delicate mission will come out as its facts finding and
Yeah.
its recommendations. That's what the president said. As the chair, it is ongoing. We have till December 31st to be done. So for Ambazonians, rest assured, at the end of the process, you are going to see the facts as they are. You are going to read the recommendations as they would be, and the president would implement or not implement them. Because we report to the president. He set up the commission. And so that's it. Over to you.
This is amazing. Dr. Patience, I'm coming to you now. You're a woman responsible as you are in every dimension that I know, and you have been married for decades, to say the least. But not people like us. The president said something in a way to prick in the consciences of Ambazonia. In his speech, he said, it is better to reconcile within a marriage. I'm not quoting him word verbatim, than, than to
To go
reconcile
back
with
to your
your
ex.
ex, to go back to your ex. And he justified his argument by quoting coup plotters, the former coup plotters, who are now seeking collaboration, and they are going around, particularly Chris Anu, who has been indicted by Barrister Fru here this evening. Chris Anu, particularly Chris Anu, the president has made mention of the fact that they are now trying to come back or to seek collaboration with him. Now, in this delight, do you think that the president, despite the grievances, because I know every family, sometimes you're really hurt by even a woman that you had loved all your life, that you just don't want to listen to anything again? Do you think there is some sense in this aspect that, hey, we are still at a certain point, we should consider giving a handshake? What would you have to say in that regard?
Yes, you referred that you were comparing that to a marital relationships,
Yeah.
and I would say that the president is right. If you have a marriage that you believe in, and you have the same interests. You want your family to be strong, to be vibrant, to stand the test of time, to grow. Then when problems come up, you have to make sure that you do all you can to solve the problems in that family, in the unit that you have. You do not wait to have a divorce or be separated and then try to solve the problem afterwards. So that same applies to our family called Ambazonia. Both Barrister Fru and Barrister Mbeseha have reminded us that the fora that we have are social media homes, to say the least, where we operate. We don't have offices or buildings where you can have somebody in authority pull a couple of people together and reprimand them or talk to them. We just have social media fora called WhatsApp fora. If we have disagreements and we don't try to solve those problems and we let them fester into the point where people feel that they have to leave, and then when they leave and they realize that maybe there was a problem from their end, it's difficult to come back, because this case is like some of what has happened when Chris Ano came up with the deal and was able to deceive some of our trustworthy Ambazonians. They followed him, but most of them are quiet now. They are not with Chris Ano anymore, but they are too embarrassed to come back home. They are ashamed to come back home, you know. And that same applies to why the president, in his wisdom, insisted that we solve the problem, we stop the in-house fighting, solve the problem amongst us, and not make it extend to the point where we can no longer talk with one another. Remembering that we have one goal, and that goal that brings us all together, that unites us, unity for purpose. That's what he said. We are united for the purpose of freeing Ambazonia, for going to live in that beautiful land. And I think that's exactly what it is. Thank you so much.
I want to agree with your explanation on this issue. Before I come to you, Barrister Fru, I just would like to chip in a little bit there. Maybe you will want to comment on it again, Dr. Patient. I'm trying for Barrister Mbeseha not to, because by the protocols, he is supposed to be fair with every side since he's chair of that committee. So I'd like the both of you to maybe comment your opinion on this. Your opinion counts a lot. Ambazonians are looking a lot to the both of you. But I will come again to you. I will want you to speak again before Barrister Fru concludes on the matter. Do you think, in spite of the need for people to, the vivre ensemble, the need for people to live together, do you think there is a line, Dr. Patient, that must not be crossed because of this need of one being together? There are certain limits or lines that must not be crossed, even in a marriage. If there's a line, the Bible even gives room to circumstances whereby if a line is crossed, then a party has a right for a divorce. Would you think that there is a need for a particular line not to be crossed by certain individuals in that?
Yes, that is difficult. That's a difficult question to answer. I think in a marriage, everybody has their line. Everybody has the line that they draw on the sand. It's different for different couples, different for different women. Some women may have a line that I will never stay in a marriage where I'm abused physically, where I'm beaten. That's their line, that they will never stay. No matter what, they will never stay. Some women have the line where they will never stay in a marriage where there is infidelity. That's their line. And so with regards to our journey to Boya, what is that line? I would say that in terms of what has happened in our different fora, I think there are different categories of the word coup plotters. I don't want to use that word lightly here. I think we have people who are genuinely coup plotters that have been bought by La Republique and are doing La Republique's bidding. You have individuals who are just fire looking for power, meaning that they want us to go to Boya, but they want to be at the top. They want to be the one calling the shot. And if they are not calling the shot, they don't mind us not getting to Boya. That means they are not as passionate for us to get to Boya. Their goals, their ambitions supersede us getting to Boya, but they are not working with La Republique. You have those who are being misled, that they think that what they are doing is really in the interest of Ambazonia. Their minds have been whitewashed, and they don't really think for themselves. And so they are followers. They just follow people that they trust in. And then you have those who are just not really doing anything. They are neither here nor there. So, but the first three categories that I mentioned, where do you cross the line? You cross the line when you genuinely know that someone has been bought by La Republique. Someone is there as a poison to the cause. If you are a poison to the cause, then you get rid of that. You try to remove that poison. Now, the trick is, how do you know for sure? You have to have your proofs. You have facts. The Truth and Reconciliation Committee that the president recommended for us to work in context was to find certain facts, to find, there are facts out there, but to put in such a way that people that do not believe in those facts, people that are doubting the process, which had to be with the process of the Constitution, how it came about. We don't need to go into all the details, but
Yeah.
the idea is that get everything out so that those who had some distrust will say, oh, we made a mistake. We are wrong. And that's Truth and Reconciliation. They come back to the fold. But if after everything is presented and you can see the facts and you clearly laid out where anybody who sees that knows that those are the facts, and you decide that no, that's not the case, and you still believe, then how do you reconcile with somebody like that? It's up to that person to decide whether they want to stay or not, right? You've done your job. So that's basically what I want to say as far as that question is concerned.
I think the three categories that you have outlined should be properly developed for a thesis. I'm not sure if anyone has ever explained it with this clarity like you've done this evening. And I'm delighted that I would have even asked that question. It was just an improvisation, and even I did not think of it. But after listening from Barrister Fru, Barrister Mbeseha, I thought there was a need, because Ambazonians are truly hurt by either of the persons belonging in some of these categories. And just to add light to some of the things you've said, you have those who are based on affiliation. They have been blinded from the truth. And I've really seen educated people in the midst of this quarrel acting like dummies, like fools, critical big fools, because they have an affiliation that is blinding them. The scripture says that. It says, bad company can really corrupt good character. We are hoping that Barrister Mbeseha and his team will be able to find solutions that will help to accommodate everybody. But you are a scientist, you know that when there is a cancerous cell, the best way to treat it sometimes is to eliminate it. Barrister Fru, please, maybe you want to talk.
Yes, Paddy, as a lawyer, I will not say anything about the commission.
Yeah.
Especially as I testified before them, I am not going to make a single statement about the commission. Number two, all of us growing up, from me, the old man, and down to you, Paddy, and to the lady, before we got married, we had gone through having a girlfriend and so on and so forth. When a girl leaves you for an unexplained reason and goes away, when she wants to come back, be very careful. Don't take her, because she might be coming back for an unfinished job to come and finish you. I'm looking at the first school plotters that left us. If we had opportunity to have this true and reconciliation, we might have saved some people. But since they left and they corrupted and they committed treason against the revolution, if they come back, we are in no position to accept them, because they may come back for an unfinished job. That's number one. Number two, like Dr. Patience said it, the Truth and Reconciliation Committee will determine whether some people cross the line. And cross the line is very serious in a revolution, just like it's serious in a marriage. If I have a wife that cheats on me, she has crossed the line, and that she's no longer a wife. That is my own. Or there are some women that if you cheat on them, you have crossed the line, and they go away and they cannot look back. That commission will tell who played what role in what is happening, and we'll see how the president will accept the recommendations or not. That said, in a revolution like ours, there are certain acts that are treasonous, and there's no forgiveness. You have to leave us. There are many rooms in the house, so choose your own room. Because something that affects our going to Boya, something that the enemy has implanted and you are part of it, is treasonous, and you must leave us. I leave that to the commission to decide, because their findings and their recommendations, I don't want to know until the time that they turn in their report. And as the Attorney General of this organization, the report will come to me. The president will probably send me the report, the copy of the report. I say probably because he is the custodian of this revolution. If he doesn't send a copy to me, I will also understand. Now, let's leave this to the commission, and let's say no more and see how it turns out. We will never, the Republic will never conduct another coup in this revolution like they did before. And if anybody thinks that he can steal 1 franc by using what kind of key in this revolution now, just know that you will not succeed, and we will catch you, and that you have crossed the line. Thank you, Paddy.
I think we're going to make progress, but I want us to talk about, I didn't want to do this last week because I saw it. Someone brought it to my attention, I saw it and I ignored it. I'm talking about Chief Coup plotter Chris Anu. He made an article where he published it, Barrister Mbeseha, and he said something. We need to really talk about it because this has to do with the distortion, misinformation. You know, as the squabbles are going on within the fora, there is filtering out. You have those who crosses the line by even taking some of these issues. Like when we're growing up, they say only a bad child goes to the neighbor's house to talk about what is happening in the house. Only a bad woman goes to a friend's house to tell the world what is happening between her and the husband in the bedroom. That kind of woman is not a good. So information has been filtering out from our fora, and apparently Chris Anu is having some idea of what is happening. I saw an article that Ngwambe is talking about me. You know, that's a primitive guy who I thought had some sense. And it's unfortunate. I'm sorry using the word primitive, but I'm just describing the reality of who he is. So I'm coming to you now, Barrister Mbeseha. Chris Anu captioned his article, "Who cursed Ambazonia with Dr. Sako?" When I read that article,
What?
I laughed because, yeah, that is the caption. And I'm like, this is a man who is unable to raise 5,000. And President Sako 2 weeks ago has raised 70,000 US dollars. Ambazonians don't trust you. So who is now a curse and who is a blessing? By Mbeseha, maybe that's where you should talk and maybe crown this segment of our conversation.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And I wish all Ambazonians worldwide can listen to me in this my own
Please.
segment. See, this Truth and Reconciliation Committee that I hate has nothing to do with the whole Ambazonian struggle. We're dealing with the government, those still in the government
Correct.
of President Sako.
Yeah.
We're not dealing with the disagreements or agreements in the Ambazonian struggle. But I would like to address that because that's where Chris Anu and many others are looking at. Chris Anu and many other people are saying, all of you come together and prosecute the war one front and go defeat Abiedu Cameroon. That's a very, very good call. But let me make this remark, and I wish people listen to me. This will go to answer what Chris Anu wrote. Now, from 2018, we have these groups that have been formed, call them groups. But all the groups are intended to fight against President Sako, not to reach Yaoundé. The groups were intended and are still intended to fight President Sako. That's why Chris Anu will say, God curse Ambazonia with Sako. But this is my take about it, and I wish them to hear. I tried to reach out to some of them. They didn't respond to me. And this is my only contribution, but it's a little bit long, but I will explain why. Now, in 2018, when Sisiko suddenly disappeared from the scene, we tried to put A together, put B together, and form something. Finally, we got President Sako to sit in as a president. Who tried to break down President Sako was Sisiko by appointing a certain Yerema. He created his own faction of his so-called IG and put a Yerema there. Today, Sisiko from his prison cells and tweets and messages. Let everybody come together without first of all addressing the fact that he created an illegitimate vice president. The best thing for him to have done was to have simply called back his man, say, go back to the fore. He did not expect the certain President Sako, whom he was trying to undermine, to come to Yerema and say, okay, let us come together. It doesn't work like that. Moving forward, and again for purpose of explanation, Sisiko became president in Nigeria after the consortium left Cameroon, got to Nigeria, got other groups, they became SCACOF. They became finally the governing council, and they matured into the IG. Who are those who left Cameroon? The consortium were banned. It was banned. Well, this little Cameroon, the SCNC, it was also banned. And when they created this so-called IG in the fourth conclave, the structures included the consortium. And those structures included the IG, the most powerful organization in it was the IG, which was the consortium, and the Restoration Council, which was headed by the SCNC. This is important because what they called the IG in 2018, that's today become the government, was a combination of all these forces that came from the home front. But what have they done to undermine the same thing that they put together? When things were not moving well, Isitemba Akoro purported to pull away the consortium from the government, from the so-called IG. He revived what he called the consortium. And then they're running around, let us come together. Without knowing that, the dissolution of the consortium, the establishment of the so-called consortium was an act of illegality committed against the very unity government that they had created in Nigeria to fight the war. Today, there's something consortium. They go somewhere else, he's sitting there and say, I'm consortium. What consortium? We don't understand. Fast forward, the Restoration Council was headed by the SCNC in the person of Komita, was the chair. And if anybody else played the major role to the factions, we call them, to the different governments we have, it is no one else but Komita. Komita, as the chair of the Restoration Council, created a certain Marianta. This Komita who created Marianta by giving her a government for 6 months. On what basis, no one knows. Today, we'll hear the appeal to come together. You hear people calling Marianta is one of the governments to come together. If Marianta did not succeed, what was the idea? The idea of Marianta was to defeat President Sako. Marianta was created, just like Yerema, to fight Sako. Because in order to put Marianta there, they purportedly impeached President Sako. And today, you hear them calling on the impeached president that, oh, he's the curse on us because he's not going away. Again, 6 months after, the very Komita who represented the SCNC created a certain ANU. For what? To fight the so-called Sako, because even after Marianta got there, Sako did not go away. Now you have 3 factions, the Yerema faction, the Marianta faction, the ANU faction, all of them crying for unity. And of course, you have the consortium there. And to conclude it, at the end of all this creation by a certain Mr. Komita, he proposed now to pull out something called SCNC, which is part of the government. There's an independent SCNC. That when they go to Canada, you see somebody sitting on the table and say, I'm SCNC. When they say, let us come together, people are saying, oh, SCNC is a faction. Whether they are supposed to be part of the government. When they went out, no one knows. And what is Komita doing? The only role Mr. Komita plays in the struggle, up to this point, after, in his mind, removing Sako, he is an SCNC whose sole role in the struggle is to sign asylum papers. And yet, you hear the ordinary Ambazonia on the ground. All of us come together. Who are these people they call all of us? The all of us they are referring to are Chris Anu, are Marianta, are Yerema, are Komita. So, what makes, if Yerema did not succeed, why don't you just go back to the fold? If Marianta did not succeed, why does she not just go back to the fold? If Anu has not succeeded, because in his own words, quoting him, who dismiss Sako but is going nowhere. As we speak today, he's saying that he's sitting there. So why, if you have failed, why not just come back to the fold? So what is this call for unity, unity, unity? It is all financial. All people wanting money because they see money coming in terms of negotiations, whatever it is. And this is clear evidence of it. Mr. This guy, the man of SY, what do you call that thing, did not join the government, but he purported to be part of it. President Sako, under his auspices, created the act. We were simply to prepare for negotiations. Today, when you go to stay in Canada, you find a certain tailor who is sitting there as act. The act of Mr. Akwanga. Akwanga himself sits there as his group. There's a certain tailor from France, or from China, sits there as act. And these are the very groups that the ordinary man, the ordinary citizen in Ambazonia and around the world is calling on them to come together to go fight Yaoundé. And that's why I chose to address this message onto that. So again, for Ambazonians who want this, who preach the doctrine of come together, why has prevented Yerima that since his creation in 2018, we have not heard him throw a rubber gun anywhere to fight the war? Why does Sisiko not just say, my brother, I appointed you in error? And among the people Sisiko appointed is Kapo Daniel as his ambassador to China. So what is wrong with Sisiko not just saying these things I created were a mistake? Yerima, go back to the government. Mr. Kapo Daniel, go back to the government, because Kapo Daniel is not championing a different thing. But he has not really resigned from Mr. Yerima's government. The president of the Yerima's government, because vice president, has not dismissed Kapo Daniel. He's still there. And
so there's no dismissal.
Yes, this is where the problem is. And my message, therefore, as I've said, is addressed to people around the world, Ambazonians, calling for a come together. All of you unite. All of you unite. Well, this all of you include Yerima, whom have analyzed his position from Sisiko. They include Marianta, whose position I've just analyzed. They include Mr. Kumeta, whom I've just analyzed. They include a certain consortium that was banned, which has merged up to form the government in Nigeria. Today being led by a certain making so much noise on social media. Oh, let's come together. That's their own context of come together.
And the truth is that Mbeseha,
let me learn. For instance, let me just learn. The truth is, I, as the chair of this Truth and Reconciliation, that has nothing to do with what caused Marianta to form a government or to fail.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with what caused Anu to be where he is, succeeding or failing. Neither have we anything to do with Yerima, neither have we anything to do with Sisiko. Either way, Truth and Reconciliation to reconcile our Ambazonians at the end of the day. It is not that which we are doing now. What this Truth and Reconciliation Committee is concerned is with the people in the fold of President Sako's government. Whether you call them coup plotters or not, today they are still members of that house. We are trying to reconcile members of that house, point out their errors. Within that, we're not going to mention Sako, we're not going to mention Akuru, Anu, all these people in this. That is not within
the jurisdiction of that commission.
So over to you. Let people understand this. All right, thank you.
I'm very happy that you make that clarification. I even didn't think that you were going to do that, and I'm happy that you proactively did it. There's something you said which I want to use it and conclude this segment so we can move forward. You said something about the substance of these different individuals who have their names in organization, maybe their wives are secretaries, and really have no substance. They are unable to win the trust of Ambazonians because Ambazonians don't really trust them. They don't give money to them. And if they're having any money, they're taking it from Cameroon. They don't have any substance on the ground. They don't feed the refugees. They don't take care of the prisoners of war. I'm very happy that you have made that distinction for the world that is watching us today to listen to it. So what do they really want? It's not a question that this program today can really answer. It is about Cameroon instrumentalizing the divide and conquer strategy against our be our movement. I want us to move forward into something.
Before you move, one sentence, one
Please,
sentence.
please, please.
If you have a woman who has divorced you, or you have a girlfriend who left you, or you have somebody who committed treason in a revolution, never you accept that person back into the fold, because the person can only come back to finish the job that he did not finish while he was there. Go on, Paddy.
Okay. I think I cannot argue you on that because you're more experienced. I'm sure the time you started doing girlfriend and boyfriend, I was not born. So I don't want to join issues with you on that.
No, that is not what I've said. Is not literally. I'm saying compared to this revolution, if you have committed treason from this government and has gone, there is no question of unity, because you may be taking you back to come and finish the job that you didn't do.
Okay, that's amazing. So we're moving forward right now. Yesterday, like I mentioned earlier on, gentlemen, there was it took the media by storm. Though I'm suspicious, because this is what happened. Let me give a backdrop. When the colonial powers were commissioned by the United Nations to decolonize Africa, France strategized their approach and still recolonized Africa. France actually saw that they were losing and they had to do it. And they went ahead of signing a document called Accord de Coopération. I don't want to call it in English. I don't want to translate it. I just want it to be represented the way it is. And an entente, an understanding of that document has one of the clauses that has to do with mutual military support. So yesterday, as the media is saying, and as also attested by the president of Chad, late Idris Déby's son, he's also known as Déby. The Republic of Chad has officially divorced France, not entirely, but military cooperation. They are called a cooperation, entails more than a military cooperation. I feel this is an anticipatory strategy of France to stay within the fold somehow. I personally, my opinion is subjective. I don't believe that what happened in Gabon was a coup. But this man speaks. He says so that they can explore new relationship, they can independently think their future when it comes to partnership militarily. And I'm like, okay, Russia has been doing ties and relations with Africa. Is Russia actively involved? But if not, what will give the balls to Chad to do that when we know how weak Chad is after fighting several wars and is having a troubling economy? The lawyers, you are all politicians. In fact, Barrister Mbeseha particularly is a seasoned diplomat, so he should be able to tell us this. I don't know if Dr. Patience will have something to contribute. But let's move into that
Be surprised.
divorce. Let's move into that divorce. I'll give you the floor to begin, Dr. Patience. What you heard the news, I'm sure. What do you think and what do you have to say?
Yes, you're right. I'm not a politician, but I do listen to the news and learn a thing here or there. My understanding is that when the African nations were commissioned for decolonization, and I think Chad had its first experience of autonomy in 1958. And I think the particular date was November 28, 1958, or the 2 years later on in 1960, they did get their independence. France strategically with all these African colonies, created this cooperation agreement in order to really have authority to continue being the masters of the same countries that were supposed to be independent. And they were smart, as a matter of fact. If I think about it, that was a smart move because they never really left. All these almost 17 countries that were colonies of France were still colonies, in this case, legal colonies. And this document that came out, issued on the 28th of November, the press release where Chad is informing the international community that they are severing this cooperation agreement with France, is a wake-up call. I think they've seen what is happening in Mali, in Burkina Faso, in Niger, where African leaders are waking up. But the question is, if Russia was not there, would they have done what they did? Are they able to stand on their own without the help of some powers in the West or powers in the East? That is really the question we should be asking. And I'm hoping that there will be a time where Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia, when we have our own statehood, can stand on our own 2 feet and not really have powers that will come in and with time may begin to exploit. So I really hope that, since I don't really have much to say, that Russia coming in as a partner will not in the long run be something that they will regret. That's all I have to say. But it is a good thing to let France go.
Are they really letting France go? Or is it a strategy by France? I wrote it on my Facebook page. Maybe France is that eye. Let us think like maybe it's a modification, another method. That I'm still not sure that France Chad would have the balls to do that. But Fru, please.
Yes, Paddy. I read the communique from the Chad presidency, and I also read the communique from the Minister of Defense of France. And I'm going to tie the two together. You see, I would argue that Chad is in a catch-22, confused, because the Russians have called on all African countries to get away from the French colonialism and maintain their autonomy and develop themselves. And Chad, when the Sahel countries decided to send away the French military, the Chadians received a lot of the military hardware that left the Sahel. The French took it down to Chad. But you must know the position of the present president of Chad. One, Chad has never been a monarchy, but the French have made Chad a monarchy by bringing Idriss Déby's son to be president. Number two, the last elections in Chad, the opposition leader actually won with 59% as to 14% for Idriss Déby's son. But the French, with the cooperation of the French, they seized the election from the opposition leader. And Chad's and Idriss Déby's son is still the president. So he has the support of France. France has installed its military presence in Chad very heavily. And you must also know that the Chadians have rebels. So this man has had, this Idriss Déby's son has tested what is happening in the Sahel. Maybe the Russians have contacted him, and in order for him to play in between, just like Paul Biya is playing, what did he do? He said he's severing the military cooperation. Like you rightly said, Paddy, Accord de cooperation is not only the military cooperation. And there is no way that he can annoy the French by seizing the military cooperation, because the amount of hardware that the French have in Chad is tremendous. And if the French withdraw from Chad, the rebels will take over Idriss Déby. He doesn't want that. And I want to see a document that what he's saying, he has passed it through his parliament, and they've approved that the French should leave. Until the French leave, I'm skeptical, because the Chadians are dependent on the French to survive. Up to now that we speak, the rebels are on the door. And the only thing preventing the rebels is the French military presence.
Yeah.
So, everything that Idriss Déby is doing, let me read to you what the French defense minister said.
Let me say something before you read. You're talking about parliament. Yes. Like Yaoundé, like N'Djamena, there is no parliament. This guy.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just saying that barely issue a communique of withdrawing military cooperation does not carry it, because he himself will be in danger if he does that. This is what the French defense minister says. No more playing with words. Russia is France's greatest threat in Europe. Russia has attacked our interests in Africa by diverting our long-standing African partners. It has torn our market and our resource contracts from our African partners. It can be felt at home. Russia has built an anti-French sentiment in Africa with a hate speech against France among Africans. This cannot continue without an answer if this is the future of France. French Minister of Defense. What is he saying? That the French are ready now to they will not accept the Russians interfering in their partnership with Africans anymore, because that is their survivor. This one, if you tie it with what Idriss Déby has written, it doesn't make sense to me, because the military presence of France in Chad is more than even the one in Gabon. What I'm saying now is also applies to Gabon. Gabon cannot ask the French to leave, because Gabon is heavily militarized by the French. So what are we talking about? These two African countries are in a catch-22 to follow the Sahel. They are in the same position like Paul Biya and La République. Paul Biya is so entangled in France in such a way that they cannot walk away from Accord de Coopération, whether the military wing or entirely, or whether the military or otherwise. Even though they have attempted and signed a military cooperation with the Russians, they have not left France. So they are all confused African states. Chad is just joking, because if the French pull out of Chad, they will support the rebels and they will take over Idriss Déby and France will still be in charge. That is my take.
I think that's why I needed you two here. I know that Barrister Mbeseha will be enlightening us also on some technicalities. I think I kind of agree with a lot of things that you have said. Your analogy is logical because you have documents, you have experiences, you have a clear understanding of how France operates for you to have made the conclusions you're making, and your argument has some substance. And this is where I'm bringing it to you, Barrister Mbeseha. If there's anyone here that has a deep understanding, a very deep understanding, that person should be you. You're looking at the situation. What do you have to say?
May I say something? May I say something before Barrister comes in?
Please just do it.
Because
Barrister Mbeseha is a gentleman. He will allow you to do that.
yes. So I want to say this because I think I somehow disagree with Barrister Nsoh. I think that before Chad comes out with such a document, they've done some background work. And the last paragraph that is in this their press release says that the government of the Republic of Chad expresses its gratitude to the French Republic for the cooperation it has. The framework of this agreement remains open to constructive dialogue to explore new forms of partnership. I think, I may be naive, I think that before they come out with something like this, they've had some very solid work, solid discussion, solid dialogue with new partners like Russia, and they have a fallback. They will not throw themselves in the middle of the ocean when they don't have somebody there to defend them. That's what I think.
That statement you have just made.
Hold on.
A moment, please. But a moment. That statement you have just made is what brings my own suspicion. I feel like it is an arrangé with France. I don't really feel that. I just feel there's something in between that no parties are telling us. But Fru, react, please, briefly.
Let me tell you, if you read what I just read from the Defense Minister of France, there is no such agreement. The French are seated in charge. Their military hardware, the one that they brought from Burkina Faso, from Mali, and Niger. Most of it is in Chad, and they have a very heavy military presence in Chad. Okay, and Chad has a well-financed and well-equipped, a well-armed rebel group.
Okay, that is well understood. By Mbeseha, I'd like you to make a contribution now.
Well, maybe my contribution will be a little bit different, but I would like people to listen to us. You see, sometimes we jump into conclusions too fast, and this is good to understand. Now, the document the Chadian government has sent out is so specific, and we have missed a lot of it. It is canceling the military agreement of September 5, 2019. It is written there in paragraph 1. The military agreement between France on 5th of September 2019. That was when the father of Idris Deby, Ahmad, when Idris Deby was in power. What was that agreement about? That agreement had to do a lot with Boko Haram. In terms of Chad, the belief that Boko Haram is a foreign force coming from Nigeria or somewhere else. It's not a Nigerian, it's not a Chadian-based operation. It's a foreign force invading Chad. And so they enter into that specific agreement. Why did they need to enter into an agreement with France in 2019 other than the agreement they entered in 1959? We have to understand that first. The 1959 agreements that France entered with its colonies that were about to have independence had two phases. One, the economics. They have to exploit all the minerals. They have the right to do to the first offer, and so on and so forth. That's economics. Then the second one aspect of it was a defense agreement. It was not a defense agreement to defend the colonies from invasion. No, it was a defense agreement. It is still a defense agreement today, which makes France, gives France the right to, it was a government to government agreement. That's why France has used it all along, even in Chad, since 1962. All the leaders in Chad, all the coups d'etat have been manufactured in France. Once the government is not longer palatable, acceptable to France, it will change you. That is something he did to Gabon many years ago, even under Abiedu Bongo. They overthrew him. The French came and drove away the rebels and reinstalled him there. It was a government-to-government agreement. So that once there's a government that is not coming to be palatable to France, they will come and drive you away. The young man there today in Chad came to power in 2021, succeeding his father under the orchestration of France. He's their candidate. I don't need to go far again to see why I say we're not just understanding them. If you permit me, the second to last paragraph of that statement says, the government wishes to emphasize that this decision, that is the decision to cancel this decision, does not in any way call into or question the historical relations and friendship between the two nations. Chad remains committed to maintaining constructive relationship with France in other areas of common interest for the benefit of the two parties. And so, again, to explain that the agreement that entered in 1959 was a government-to-government agreement, is still the same. Came in the 1970s to the 80s, when Cameroon was purportedly fighting a war against Nigeria in Bakassi. You did not see a Frenchman there to support Yaoundé. That was a foreign war. They didn't go there. As long as the government of Yaoundé was not destabilized, they had nothing to do with your war with Bakassi. Morocco, Mauritania, and Chad fought domestic wars. France did not go there. And above all, to illustrate this point, that it is a government-to-government agreement. We're all familiar with the Côte d'Ivoire. When Côte d'Ivoire was in trouble, when Gbagbo was in trouble, he invited the French under the French agreement of 1959. Come to my aid. They came there. They are the ones who pushed the rebel forces from Jamina to Yamoussoukro. The French did that. And to ensure that Gbagbo remained in power, they set out a buffer zone, policed by the French, to maintain Gbagbo in power. That's his government. But came 2010, 2011, when they certified and agreed that Gbagbo had lost power. He had not won the election. Right or wrong, they shifted the alliance to Ouattara. And they're the one who went now and opened the gates for Gbagbo to be arrested. That ceased to recognize him as a legitimate government in the Côte d'Ivoire. They had to bring their own candidate that they supported in the name of Ouattara, helped them to arrest Gbagbo and take him away. And so it's a government-to-government arrangement. It's not coming in, for example, if Cameroon were involved with the war in Chad or was fighting with Central African Republic, the French will not get there.
Thank you.
They protect the government in place. And the reason was simple, because that was to back the economic agreement they entered into. As long as there's a government in place that favors them, they will not breach the economy. Their interest is economics. And compared to what has happened in Niger, when the Nigerians came in and said, look, we no longer want to, the ambassador should go away. We're canceling the mineral research thing, which is not economics, which is what they are referring to in that document Barrister Nsoh is reading from the French embassy. The Russians are disturbing their economic interests. And so again, this agreement was essentially based on Boko Haram. The equipment is shipped from Niger down to Niger to Chad. When they lost, it's going to remain there under their French government-to-government defense agreement. And so if you come to overthrow Muhammad, who is there now, whom they put there, they don't want to put him there. If you try to overthrow him, they use every agreement to drive you away. Because as it says in their own statement here, they are not putting into issue their colonial agreements that have maintained for decades and decades. It's written in that agreement, that cancellation. Most importantly, again, look at the date. They are only canceling the agreement of 5th September 2019. In all, the agreement remains intact.
Let me just show, please.
Let me just
I think
say back to what happened in 1959, 1960, when they were colonizing Africa and other places. They didn't say the French or the colonists should abandon their economic interests. The economic interest was maintained. Their political interest was maintained. Where it is Britain, France, or anyone, they maintain their economic interest. But let these people have their independence, and then you can influence them economically, as France has been doing, or control them economically, as they've been doing. They didn't go into that. After when they created the UN in 1945, the powers, they were decolonizing the world according to the 1945 agreement of the United Nations. The people who left that agreement, who left that United Nations, without taking any interest back, were the Russians. You don't see any Russian interest. They had no colonies. You don't find any Chinese interest. These are the the veto members of the United Nations. Do you have any Chinese interest or Russian interest? The Russians have enough minerals. They didn't have any colonies. The people who were the great colonizers were the British, the French, and the Americans with their superpower structure. These are three that had an interest. We have NATO forces left and right. And so that is what it is. Again, looking at just that agreement, that circular from the Chadian foreign presidency, it's okay. They are not canceling all the agreement. The agreement of 5th September 2019. And they say they were not putting into issue.
But Mbeseha, I'm sorry if I'm cutting you short. We need to make progress so that we can handle this. And nobody start.
No. But can I say something?
I'll give you the time to do that. Just permit me to make a comment. I'll give you the time to do that. So I like this panel because you have brought in a balance in this conversation, and you're getting into the details, so that you realize that the media, I don't know if they are doing that knowingly, mainstream is tactically misinforming the public, because on the very first shot, when anybody sees the caption, you see from all the different media houses, Voice of America, AP, the caption is Chad ends military cooperation with. It would have been easier for them if they are not trying to mislead, if there is no strategic intention to mislead, to say Chad ends the 2019 military cooperation with France. So you now cannot blame those who are analyzing it differently. Barrister Fru, make your reaction quickly so that we can move forward. We have a very long night.
Look, Paddy, in order to understand what is happening in Chad, you must understand why Idriss Déby died, and you must understand what the rebels have been doing in Chad. You remember, Idriss Déby caught I think there were about 7 Frenchmen who committed crimes in Chad and detained them. And the French wanted them released with immediate effect, and he didn't. And the rebels, the Chadian rebels, fought their way right down to the Chadian presidential palace, and the French gave an ultimatum. This happened in 2019. They gave an ultimatum that Chad should release them and they will save them from the rebels, or they will let the rebels take over and they will support the rebels. And this is because Chad had made an appeal to the French to help him fight the rebels. At that dying minute, that day, it was between less than 2 days, the rebels were already in Jamina. So Idriss Deby caved in, signed a military cooperation for the French to defend Chad against those rebels. And that same agreement was modified, I think, a few months or a year after to include fighting Boko Haram. You have to look at the history of Chad and the French and the Chadian rebels to understand this communique. This communique is cancelling that agreement of 2019. But that agreement of 2019 is incorporated, in my view, in the military cooperation that Chad has, like any other French-speaking country in Africa. Chad has under the Accord de Coopération. You have to make the request. You said that Cameroon fought Nigeria without France. Yes, because Cameroon did not make a request for France to come, and even they made a request, France's interest in Africa and Nigeria is 10 times more than the French interest in Cameroon. The French always protect their interests. That's why they took no sides. Or they will, even if they were invited, they will not come. I am saying,
and I like the insight you have just brought in now. It just tells us the diabolic partner that France is in that
is. That is what I'm trying to say, that Barrister Mbeseha was thinking that all of us have not read the communique from Chad. I read everything, and I read this one of the minister, and I know exactly what happened to Idriss Deby. Idriss Deby went to the front. No president, even if it's a military leader who has seized power, goes to the war front and is killed there. He was assassinated there by the French, and they had a reason, because Idriss Deby was drifting away from the French. They wanted somebody who would be their own, whom they can control. And when they did that, they immediately came, instead of allowing the president of the National Assembly to take over power in Chad, as the constitution says, they imposed Idriss Deby's son because they had indoctrinated him. Yeah. And that is what is happening. This boy has been contacted we cannot be sure, but the Russian influence is now clouding.
I'm not cutting you short. I'm not cutting you short. I really want us to make progress. I really agree with you, because France is functioning a little bit very, very evil, using an evil mechanization in Africa. They can use a son against a father, a wife against a husband, and I think your analogy cannot be discarded. But just so we move,
they saved Idriss Deby from being assassinated and taken over by the rebels in that 2019.
Yeah, so
and that is what
we are following the stories and seeing the way things are changing. We're looking at all the reactions. We have a week at least before our next sitting next Saturday. We have a week to examine the actual situation from different sides and to see the involvement of Russia, like Dr. Patience would have mentioned. Now, in all of this, it directly affects the dynamics, the military economic dynamics in Central Africa, that Cameroon, or the sounding Cameroons, has a strong affiliation. Looking at how politics and everything is playing out, what do we, please, you all have 90 seconds or maximum 2 minutes to react, so that we can move on or into the subject of tonight. What do you really think Ambazonia can make out of this as we strategize during this time of war? I'll begin with you, Barrister Mbeseha.
Well, If there's anything we can make out of this, if you are talking about this agreement or whatever
No,
thing decision of
changing or the things that are taken entirely, not just the agreement. A lot of things are happening right now. People are agreeing, people are disagreeing. France is losing its grip the way it used to be. What can we make out of it? We'll get into the depth of the analysis next Saturday. I want us to coordinate the program.
what I think the only thing we can the thing we have to get from it, which everybody is getting from it, is France. There's no doubt France is losing its grip over what used to be their secured zones of influence. And so, if as far as Ambazonia is concerned, I would say that it looks like the Cameroon government, not Ambazonia, the Cameroon government in Yaoundé is up for grab. Anybody can pick it up. And so, as they lose their grip on Chad, they lose their grip on Niger and other countries around, they want to preserve what they have. As of today, they still have a grip over Cameroon. That Cameroon that they have a grip over it includes Ambazonia. But what we see from it is that they don't want to lose Ambazonia. France, they don't want to lose Cameroon because of Ambazonia. And that explains why they have sent their own personal representatives to Ambazonia, in particular to Bamenda, in the name of the ambassador, to assure us, Ambazonia, just stay in. The government will give you the money. We'll give all this. We'll put reconstruction for you. So stay in. But there's not so much they can do. If they realize, and they are realizing, that because they want to hold this Cameroon together, including Ambazonia, if they realize that trying to keep Ambazonia to be Yaoundé, they will let us go and they preserve what they need, which is Yaoundé. Because in 1959, when they signed the agreements, they did not contemplate Ambazonia being part of it. Yeah. So I think they are losing, they risk losing Yaoundé because they want to include Ambazonia. So tactically, they will let us go so they can preserve what they have. What do they have in us right now other than the oil? The minerals we have, they're not even mining the minerals. I don't see any mineral being mined in Ambazonia, but we have them. The only thing they're taking out of us is oil. They have some oil deposits, they have different minerals in this Cameroon, which they will prefer to do them and let Ambazonia go. Because trying to keep this big chunk, including Ambazonia, might cost them the whole chunk called Cameroon. Over to you.
Yeah, but Fru, very briefly, what do you think we should do to leverage the situation in the quest of our freedom?
Well, before I answer that question, let me say this: La Republique is disintegrating, and the French are working day and night to bring people together, and it's not working. Like Barrister Mbeseha rightly said, I see the French trying to let Ambazonia go and see how they can pick up the pieces in La République du Cameroun, because so far La République du Cameroun regime right now has not repudiated the French. Now, letting Ambazonia go is only for one thing and one thing only: the resources that they want from Ambazonia. The French will now come back to Ambazonia to try to have some kind of relations with us. Having said that, what should we do? I don't want to release anything that the government has been preparing for, but I'm always saying,
I think that I'm always
saying that we should be ready for La République's collapse. Anytime they collapse, we should get into action and liberate our people.
Amazing.
And yes.
Amazing. I think that
is all I'm going to say. There's a lot, but I'm not going to say anything.
That's where I bring in Dr. Patience, because tonight is one of those nights where we get ourselves prepared in any eventuality by inspiring those who are bearing the brunt of the war. So, what do you think we need to do as Ambazonian women in wait of that moment? Dr. Patience, please.
One moment, I lost you there.
That moment where Cameroon finally disintegrates, that moment where France will either approach Ambazonia directly, that moment where Ambazonians will need to leverage the situation to actualize their restored independence and ensure their total freedom. What do you think in the perspective of the women folk?
Okay, so everything depends on the structures that have been put in place. Women will not act individually to react when such a moment comes. Of course, there will be jubilation, but in terms of initiatives or activities that will be considered important for our movement to really control our territory, we expect that the women, the mothers, the daughters will be able to nurture their families, bring some sort of control over their households, and make sure that the family is secured, make sure that the family is getting appropriate nutrition. So a general sense of well-being, because only when people remain healthy can they perform to their utmost. But we think that there will be some guidance from the government. President Sako
Now,
is the leader.
now to take advantage of the framework.
Yes, there will be a guidance from the government of what should be the expectations. And in that framework, the leadership in position will direct based on what the next steps will be. But the key thing is for people to keep themselves safe, because there will be chaos. We want people to stay in their homes, avoiding the rocks that may be the military that may take advantage to hurt our women in the forms of rapes. So the key thing is safety will be a priority, and that safety involves taking care of the children, the women, the disabled, the elderly. I think that would be the most important thing.
And that leads us to the peak of the night, the reason why the Secretary of State for the Women's Services of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia has invited Ambazonians, well-wishers, and friends to be here this evening. She has always been actively involved in that initiative of reaching out to those who are most affected by this genocidal onslaught that has befallen our nation for almost a decade. Tonight, Dr. Patient calls us to be angels. Angels for either an IDP, angels for either a refugee, angels for either a prisoner of war in Ambazonia. Can you be an angel? Now, to lay the foundation of this discussion, we had a documentary that was done by Star Smart on these issues relating to the plight of our people. Right after that documentary, we'll be back to tell you why you must put a smile on the face of an IDP, a refugee, a widow, a prisoner of conscience during this time of Christmas. Stay tuned.
The silent struggle of southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. A chronicle of escalating refugee crisis, human rights abuses, and global indifference. dive into the heart-wrenching narrative of southern Cameroons, also known as Ambazonia, where a relentless refugee crisis and rampant human rights abuses unfold amidst a backdrop of international neglect. Explore the untold stories of resilience, despair, and the urgent need for global attention and intervention.
I want to thank our head, Mr. Sako, for the kind gesture with the GUI, President Sako for we Amazonian land. Some of us we are disabled, and because of war, I lost my family, my wife, my children. I have only my grandchildren living with me. So once they make continue to give us this gesture, because some of us we don't have means, some will get some small thing for ourselves. I don't have the strength to stand and do something with one leg.
I am appealing for humanitarian support for my people. Ambazonian refugees need our help. In a world brimming with indifference, we are compelled by duty, compassion, and an undying need for justice to raise our voices for the unheard. The plight of the southern Cameroon's Ambazonian refugees cries out for immediate action. War, displacement, and marginalization have plunged innocent lives into unfathomable suffering. Can we turn a blind eye to such human agony? In the name of our shared humanity, we must act, and we must act now.
A cry for justice and compassion, the untold sufferings in Ambazonia. Well, it is no news that war exacts a profound toll on societies, tearing apart communities and fracturing families. However, the conflict between the Cameroons and Ambazonia, the southern Cameroons, has been ongoing for over 8 heartbreaking years. This brutal conflict not only epitomizes devastation, leading to the displacement of over 2 million people, but it also thrusts into light a harrowing modern-day genocide.
When the sound of gunfire pierced the serene skies over southern Cameroon's Ambazonia, a thriving community was thrust into a relentless storm of chaos and despair. Decades of socio-political inequalities, marginalization, and a belligerent occupation escalated into a brutal conflict, the effects of which have reverberated far beyond the nation's borders. Innocent civilians, our sons and daughters, mothers and fathers, are now faceless statistics in the stark realities of war, displaced, terrified, and forsaken.
It is sad to say that this is not just a struggle for survival, but a dire quest for basic human dignity. We have seen women and children in broad daylight, the most vulnerable pillars of every society, have been uprooted from their homes. They journeyed to far distant lands seeking refuge, but found themselves ensnared in different webs of suffering. The journey alone offers a taste of the brutality ahead. Countless souls have not only succumbed to the treacherous terrains of the Darien Gap in Southern America, but also the roasting deserts in North Africa, with some wasting in the high sea, seeking for safety and greener pastures. A harsh testament to the shared desperation driving the young men and women and youth's exodus.
The people of Ambazonia suffer under the weight of intrusion, aggression, and recolonization by French Cameroon, with little to no international intervention. It is profoundly troubling that the global community continues to turn a blind eye why this humanitarian catastrophe is being overlooked and underestimated by credible human rights organizations remains a mystery.
As healthcare professionals and political activists committed to a just, healthy, and humane world, it is incumbent upon us to demand immediate international attention to this humanitarian crisis. We call upon world governments, humanitarian organizations and individuals of conscience to heed the cry for justice. Humanitarian aid must be mobilized to provide food, shelter, and medical care. Efforts must hinge on creating safe corridors for those in transit and fair asylum processes for those who reach host countries.
Human rights reporting and underestimation of displacement figures by credible humanitarian organizations. Accurate reporting on the crisis in southern Cameroon is gravely impacted by intimidation tactics employed by the oppressive regime of Biya, leading to significant underestimation of displacement figures. While the UNHCR reports approximately 87,000 Cameroonian refugees in Nigeria as of March 2024, Ambazonian authorities, who receive daily figures from their people on the ground, assert that the actual number exceeds 400,000. This disparity underscores the severity and human cost of the situation. The challenges do not end with reporting inaccuracies. The Nigerian government authorities have reportedly interfered with the UNHCR processes of identifying and registering refugees, which may explain why many refugees have reported being denied registration by UNHCR representatives on the ground in Nigeria. Tragically, even those who managed to get registered have not received any support from the UNHCR for over a year now. The little aid that was initially provided was abruptly stopped without any explanation, leaving the refugees in limbo and grappling with uncertainty and despair.
Standing at the precipice of this humanitarian disaster, the world has a choice: to ignore the needs of southern Cameroonians, Ambazonians, refugees, or to rally behind their quest for dignity and justice. This is our moment to rise above the noise of political rhetoric and take decisive action. Let us not allow our generation to be remembered for its willful ignorance, but for its steadfast commitment to human dignity.
Meanwhile, the French Cameroonian authorities have also reportedly interfered with and restricted the operations of human rights organizations such as Amnesty International, Doctors Without Borders, and even the UNHCR within Cameroon. These organizations, which champion the cause of human dignity worldwide, face obstacles that hinder their ability to provide essential aid and bear witness to the atrocities unfolding in the sub-Saharan African region.
Voices of displacement, the struggle of Ambazonian refugees in Nigeria. Life as an Ambazonian refugee in Nigeria is fraught with unimaginable hardship, with limited access to healthcare, rampant food insecurity, and scant economic opportunities. Many find themselves in a relentless struggle for survival. Despite recent efforts from humanitarian organizations and the Ambazonian government, the aid provided falls heartbreakingly short. In my 3 years of reporting on the ground, I have witnessed heart-wrenching realities: infants succumbing to hunger, young girls turning to prostitution out of desperation, and refugees driven to suicide by the sheer hopelessness of their circumstances. It is devastating to see that many would rather face the perilous journey through places like the Darien Gap than return home.
These desperate people are not so much concerned about the identity crisis because they are actually faced with an existential threat and have completely lost trust in all governments and institutions or organizations that are expected to provide urgent humanitarian assistance, as we observe in other areas where there are crises in the world, for example, in Ukraine and in the Middle East. The question then becomes, are they less of a citizen of this world? Or is this a race issue? Or is this deliberate neglect? We're therefore calling on the United Nations, and especially the UNHCR, and all other humanitarian organizations, the displaced people, persons, and the refugees from the southern Cameroons deserve assistance like any other people who are victims of war. We therefore call on these organizations to be fair, to be just, and to treat the refugees of the Southern Cameroons with respect and dignity, because they are also children of this universe.
Over 80% of Ambazonian refugees lack adequate shelter, leaving them vulnerable to harsh weather and security threats. Alarmingly, the same number of school-aged children have no access to formal education, dimming their future prospects and continuing the vicious cycle of poverty. The gender-based violence is another grim reality, with limited protection mechanisms in place to shield these refugees from sexual assaults and domestic abuse.
In the throes of such adversity, the humanitarian spirit urges us not to overlook the plight of these displaced individuals. Accurate and transparent reporting, coupled with prioritized humanitarian assistance, is not just a logistical necessity, but a profound act of compassion. Every underreported statistic, every unassisted refugee represents a life in turmoil, a child robbed of their childhood, a family torn apart, a community devastated. The international community must respond with urgency and empathy. It is time for solidarity to transcend borders and for human compassion to drive actionable change. We must amplify the voices of the displaced, challenge the barriers to truth, and ensure that no soul is left behind in the shadows of this humanitarian crisis. Only then can we honor the intrinsic value of human life and uphold the principles of justice and equality that lie at the heart of human rights advocacy.
The Norwegian Refugee Council has shed light on one of the world's most underreported humanitarian crises, the plight of the Southern Cameroons, or what they call the Anglophone crisis. The anguish faced by the Ambazonian people is a heart-wrenching, and the silence surrounding their struggle is deafening. It is suggested that powerful interests, especially France's stake in the Southern Cameroon's resources, could be fueling this tragic silence.
This genocidal war declared on us by the 90-year-old dictator Paul Biya on the 30th of November 2017 is raging, and our people are going through this horror in pain and in plain sight while the world watches on. This is our reality daily.
We must listen to the stories of these refugees. We must face the truths that these statistics reveal and push harder for meaningful change. We owe it to them to ensure that their voices aren't just heard but acted upon.
I am who I am because I value my past. The memories of yesterday can never be changed, but they give me a reason to live again. There is a reason I am here today, but there is no reason you lost your lives. You were called abusive names, deprived of rights to be humans, slayed because of who you were born.
Unlike it is often said, charity begins at home. While we're calling on the international community, members of the world, humanitarians to get involved, this evening, the Department of Women's Services, in collaboration with ABC Amba TV, is inviting every Ambazonian, every stakeholder of this struggle. There is one way that we need to unite. There is one thing that brings us together. our brothers and sisters, our mothers, our widows, our family members back home, refugees in Nigeria, IDPs who have been living in the harshness of the equatorial rainforest for almost 7 years. It's a time for celebration. It's a time that we want to give a token to their sustenance. And now we bring the panelists so that we can have this conversation as to how tonight will be rounded up. Yes, Dr. Patience, I will hand the mic first of all to you. You initiated this evening your heart for the displaced, for the prisoners of conscience, for the refugees cannot be explained any better than the activities that you do every single year you have the chance. Talk to us, what are you expecting, and why must every Ambazonian be a part of this honorable duty tonight?
Thank you so much. Let me first apologize to those who are waiting in the Zoom that we are sorry for the late start and that they should please invite other members to join so that we can really achieve a lot today. The images that you've shown, Director Paddy, really should touch every Ambazonian, every Southern Cameroonian. We need to just remember that in 2016, we didn't know that we would have our people fleeing for their safety to neighboring countries, mostly Nigeria. And some of them have settled there for all these years. Some of them have died there. And some of them still trying to reach safer homes in the United States of America, die in the Amazon. These are our people, these are our families. How did that happen? The simple answer is that it's a war that made understand that those of us who were originally colonized by the British are different from those who were colonized by the French. Because you don't see French citizens fleeing for their safety to neighboring Nigeria. You see only our people. Those are victims of war. And how do we support them? You know, ideally, I wish that it was possible to have a program like we used to when we were in primary school called Pen Pal. I was in primary school, I had Pen Pal in the United States of America. I wish it was possible for us to adopt a refugee where each and every one of us in the diaspora had one refugee to take care of. And it doesn't need a lot of money. That would be my ideal solution. I don't know if we can do that. But in the meantime, we need to be able to collectively get resources, financial resources, to have these people even have a smile on their faces, knowing that where they are was no fault of theirs. They just happen to be Southern Cameroonians. We have prisoners of war that are languishing in La Republic. Some of them have never had their day in court just because of what system that they have. In fact, the United Nations Committee Against Torture, when they interviewed the ambassador Erhel Salomon about 2 weeks ago, said that the judicial process is the one that supports torture. where people are arrested without due process and get locked up indefinitely. We have war widows. We have IDPs. And these are all output of the war. We should consider ourselves blessed. You know, we are blessed because we are not afraid for our safety. We know that there's a meal somewhere, even if it's 1 or 2 meals a day. They do not have that luxury. So we need to do it all in our power to support these war victims. You know, the department has evolved. I remember in 2019, 2020, we used to do very little outreach. We raised funds from amongst ourselves and we're able to send money to the different counties for families to buy rice, soap, palm oil, cooking oil, and a few other items. That's how we used to support them. But things have changed. We don't have people are afraid, I should say, to be able to carry out such endeavors because somebody would tell La Republic that A or B or C is taking money from Ambazonia to buy things. So people are afraid. But we have a way of reaching to those who are brave enough to take care of IDPs. We've supported the prisoners since 2019, sending money for them to buy food stuff. And I want to appeal to everybody listening, everybody in the diaspora, that there's one formula that you can exploit. You have church members, people that go to your church. You have colleagues at work. You have friends of your kids, your kids' parents. You have just friends that you meet here and there that are not from Southern Cameroon or Ambazonia. Just tell them our story. Ask them to support. It doesn't have to be a lot of money. $10 here, $20 here, $50 there. And you'll be able to raise $200 yourself from all these individuals that I've recommended. All you just need is the effort to do so, the commitment to do so. If you do it, you'll definitely get the results. So our goal this year is to get $20,000. $20,000 for all these victims that I've reminded us about: refugees, prisoners of war, IDPs, war widows, even Ambazonia ASA that are wounded warriors. There are many of them. And it's up to you, it's up to me to be able to carry out this and give them a smile for Christmas, which is around the corner. Be an angel. Be an angel. Thank you so much.
That's amazing. Barrister Fru, I would like to get your contribution on this whole discussion before we get to Barrister Mbeseha. And then Dr. Patience will be concluding by explaining the framework of what she intends to achieve and what she has been able to do prior to this day. Talk to us, Barrister Fru.
Thank you very much. I've watched this program and it's very touching. More especially as most of the refugees are people of middle age and old people, and you see them, they suffer more than the young people when they find themselves in a country that is not theirs and live under the authority of some people in order to eat or drink. This is pathetic. Our case is very unique because we have two sets of refugees. We have those who are out of the country and they're in Nigeria and other countries like Ghana and in Africa. But we also have refugees in La République du Cameroon. They call them IDPs. Cameroon refers to them as IDPs, and the world refers to them as IDPs. All these people need our help. I'm calling on all Ambazonians, both home and abroad, that whatever you have in your pocket now, take it out and give it so that an old man, a middle-aged, an old man, an old woman, a middle-aged man or middle-aged woman, or even youths or young children who are living in the refugee camps, and also those who are internally displaced, they call IDPs, both in Yaoundé and Douala and Bafoussam, who for some reason cannot even have a meal in 3 days. They need our help. They need the help of those of us who have been lucky so far to be in free countries, enjoying freedom, and those of us who are all over the world, both in Asia, South America, the United States and Canada. Please, we need to come out and help our brothers and sisters in agony. What you see on ABC is very pathetic. It is so sorrowful, and we need to get together to salvage them for this Christmas. Christmas is a season that everybody needs to be happy. Everybody needs to be taken care of, especially the vulnerable people like those in the refugee camps, those who are IDPs, and those who are in prison. I happen to have had the experience of visiting people in prison because I was a defense counsel then, and I've seen the suffering in prison. Some of these prisoners can go for 2-3 days without a meal. Please, let's do what we can do to help. And I take this opportunity to thank my patients and the women's wing of the government for this initiative, and all of us will come together and do whatever we have to do to put a smile on each face of these people. Thank you very much.
That's amazing. And before Barrister Mbeseha comes in, I want to say that the government of Ambazonia is the only organization, as we speak, for at least 3 years right now, with the will and the ability to even provide something for our displaced people. So for those of you who are watching us either via Facebook or YouTube or any of our platforms, if you have any assistance, you would have to do that today or now. This week coming, it's your time to partner with this government and to ensure that they can actualize the vision, humanitarian vision that they have for our nation during this time of war. In October, we saw the HSS did a tremendous work. This government did it. All those who used to poster and politicize the environment are nowhere to be found. One of the reasons is because they do not have a clear vision for the refugees or for the war in its entirety. Another reason is because their funding is not forthcoming. Ambazonians don't trust them enough. You have proven times without number that you trust the vision of President Sako. This is actually a vision of President Sako once again that you would need to be a part of. Cameroon does not finance them to feed our refugees. Cameroon finances them to attack our fighters on the home front. We are the ones that can only finance to feed our refugees. Just to tell you that the actors that are at variance with this government are financed by Cameroon. They will not do anything that is of the benefit of our people. So we are left on our own. It is time for us to act. And the time for us to act is today. Barrister Mbeseha, please.
Well, I think this is a humanitarian endeavor, and most particularly a humanitarian endeavor championed by women must succeed, and succeed tremendously. Because the women, any woman, and in the case of Ambazonia, our women who champion this cause are the first type of evidence you need. Those mothers you see there, they are women, they are all women, but yesterday they were young girls. But in times of war, they are all called women. And one woman takes charge of that program, take it serious. Because a woman is a different type of victim. Whereas the men can run away from war, enter the bushes, and if need be, climb onto the top of trees and hide there. The woman cannot do that. The woman will run away from the war if she is able to. She will take that 2, 3, 4 children in her hands. She cannot climb onto a tree with them. She only be a lucky one to have the 2, 3 in their hands. Some of them will carry some in their womb, and then some in their hands, running away from war. Some of the 2 or 3 children you find may not even be children that they wanted to. They might have been victims of rape, which are all consequences of war. And so this is an opportune moment for us to see what it is. See from those faces. We don't see young men, young women there. We see elderly people who in their natural ways will not even be able to run. But they are being forced not to walk away. They are being forced to run away from danger. And so we think $20,000, as they estimated, it's been too small. $20,000 is not what can be above us, the willing donors, to raise. And why not raise even more than that? Because the war prolongs, the victims increase, be they in refugee camps or just internally displaced. Internally displaced does not mean running to Kumba, running to Douala or to Bafoussam. No. A guy, a girl, or a man who runs from Batibo and ends up in the streets of Bamenda is internally displaced. That girl or that boy is going to be victim of rape. He's going to be victim of anything. It's an internally displaced because his or her environment is Batibo. His or her environment is Kembong, not Manfre. You end up in the Manfre, in the center of town, be a boya. That's not your environment. You're going to face hardships that you do not want. Those are not voluntarily they displaced people. And so they bring all this down, which go down to one thing. You can honor assist them, you can pray for them, but what will make them change? What will change their situation is some money. Donate what you can. The widow's mite. Why not? If all of us give the widow's mite, if everybody chipped in something, I'm sure we'll end up with more than $20,000 that they have estimated. That will give us a better credit. That will give us the courage to continue fighting, knowing that by the time we come to the end of this battle, those mothers, those elderly powers will be able to see with their own frail eyes what they have suffered for. And so I encourage the women and I congratulate them for doing so much. They represent everything that you can imagine. They say the sign of pain. And over to you.
Yeah, that was an elaborate, compassionate, and very important contribution there, Barrister Fru and Barrister Mbeseha. And now, Dr. Patience, as you conclude, so that we get into the Zoom meeting and start the actual fund drive. Last year, for the very first time, you did something that has never been done before in this liberation wartime. And you decided that you will not just give food or gifts. You're going to, no matter how small, hand a cash to refugees. And that was effectively done. A great team on the ground worked for this to be achieved. And hundreds of Ambazonians received, if not about 12,000, it was ranging between 10, 12,000 cash price in the hand. but there were a little bit of parties made here and there, but that was just an addition. You insisted on making sure, probably because of the feedback you've been receiving from the ground, you insisted on making sure that money be handed to households, to individuals for whatever they want to do. And smiles were on the faces of many. We received testimonies like never before. We have the videos. Some of the videos that we're showing there were videos of events where mothers were dancing, celebrating, jubilating for receiving cash from the government of Ambazonia. What do you intend to do this year that probably will be different and probably will be better than what you've done before?
First of all, let me thank both Barrister Fru and Barrister Mbeseha for their input, for their support for this initiative. I like Barrister Mbeseha's amount, thinking that we can get to 50,000, that I underestimated what we can do. I guess where there's a will, there's a way. The only reason I mentioned 20,000 was based on projections from last year. But you're right, we can always do better. To answer your question, we hope to do the same as last time, where we give envelopes. I think some people receive 10,000 naira and some receive 5,000 naira. But the goal was to reach out to as many refugees as possible in the different settlements, those in charge of households, for them to be able to use the money to do what benefited them the most. Because our experience with giving food is that sometimes the amount of food is not really sufficient for them to really benefit, for them to appreciate what the donors have done. So with that said, the women of the department are raising funds. Some of them are giving money from their own pockets, but they've been encouraged to raise funds from individuals that they know. And this is what I'm really appealing to all of you listening to this program, that it just needs you to make that effort to reach to a non-Ambazonian. The one thing that we want to take advantage of is that ABC Amba TV is a 501, a non-profit organization in the United States. And those who are able to donate in this country will be able to get receipts for their taxes. So with that said, I'm hoping that people will think and give more. So God loves a cheerful donor, and you'll find that the more you give, the more you get. That's just one of the principles of life. So we want to reach out to all our refugees. By the way, last year we reached out to refugees in Nigeria, some in Ghana, and some in Benin. Our goal is to do the same and better. We would also be reaching out to the prisoners in the different parts of both Southern Cameroon and La Republique, those in La Republique, Dungeon, those in Boya and Bamenda. We have different counties that have IDPs, and we have trustworthy leg men and women to be able to give our victims some sort of smile on their faces during this Christmas season. And also we send things to our war wounded and some individuals that are really suffering the most, that have been wounded. Not necessarily war ASA, but just victims of war that have been really disabled because of the war. So my brothers and sisters, friends of Ambazonia, this is the one time of the year to just give to somebody else. That is not your family, that is not your friend. somebody who would appreciate everything that you've done for them. And I'm calling to everyone to react, to respond, and reach out to as many as possible to help this cause. Thank you so much.
We're carrying on to make you feel proud out there, watching down at us. I am lighting a candle as the sign of resilience. I'm paying a tribute. You left a legacy, and I'm a fruit from the love you sow. Let's say never again. Genocide. There should be no war. There should be no genocide. Anyway, then say never again. Never again to genocide. Then say never again. Never again to genocide. And I come together as one, we can make sure genocide never happens again. History should be told and passed on to further generations. Let's all stand up and all sing out never again to genocide. Let's say never again to genocide. There should be no war. There should be no genocide. Anyway, then say never again. Never again to genocide. Then say never again. Never again to genocide. We are here as one nation. We say never again. We unite as human race. We say never again. Never again to genocide. Never again. Never again to genocide. Never again.
Ladies and ladies and gentlemen, honored donors and compassionate allies, stakeholders of Ambazonia, today we stand before you not just as a voice, but as a bridge between two worlds, one of comfort and security, and another of struggle and resilience. We gather here because we are bound by a shared humanity that employs us to act, an unyielding moral compass that guides our empathy beyond borders, beyond politics, beyond indifference. We speak of the Ambazonian people, those displaced, those orphaned, those widowed, and those wrongfully imprisoned. Their plight is our call to action. Their resilience is our inspiration. Imagine for a moment a child who has not yet grasped the breadth of the war, yet understands its severity more than many of us will in our lifetimes. An orphan innocence might, with uncertainty, deserves more than our sympathy. They deserve a chance at a brighter future. Your contributions make education possible, make food, provide shelter, and offer the simple comfort of knowing that they are not forgotten. Consider the many widows whose worlds have been turned upside down, left with heavy burden of survival as they carry the memories of lost loved ones in their hearts. Imagine the strength required to find hope when every path seems shrouded in shadows. They are the custodians of the past and the builders of tomorrow. And with your support, we'll help the women's department to lift the weight from their weary shoulders. Every displaced person or refugee you hear of has a story of home, a place once filled with laughter, love, and the mundane beauty of everyday life, now replaced by uncertainty and the echo of what once was. They did not choose to leave their homes. Circumstances forced them their hands. Yet, even in the face of such adversity, they are forging new paths, rebuilding communities out of fragments strewn across foreign lands. Your generosity provides not only essential resources, but also ignites the flame of hope that brighter days lie ahead. We must not forget that prisoners of conscience, these are individuals detained not for any crime, but for daring to voice the truth, standing up for the voiceless. Their fight is for freedom, dignity, and justice. It is a fight on behalf of all of us, and it is our duty to stand unwaveringly by their side. Your support can illuminate the darkness of their cells with light of justice and the promise of freedom. Let us unite in this noble cause. Let us reach out with open hearts and open hands to say, we are with you. Every donation is more than a monetary gesture. It is a testament to our shared values and our belief in a world where justice and compassion prevail. Thank you for opting to be a part of this beauty, for generosity, your empathy, your commitment to a cause that transcends boundaries. Together, we can make a difference. Together, we can make them smile this Christmas. I want to take this opportunity again on behalf of the President of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, the Secretary of State for Women's Services, to thank everyone who has made a donation so far. You've had the target. You may want to even do it bigger and better, because the refugees are looking up to you. I'm calling on all those who are watching us on Facebook, on YouTube, to join us. And the Zoom meeting right now is already on. There's a lot more that will be discussed and exposed within this enclosed meeting. And we hope that the donations will commence right away. Thank you for tuning in. This was Ambazonia this week with Tarh Paddy, and we have come to a logical conclusion of it. See you next week.
We brought you flowers. We brought you flowers. We brought you flowers.